I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I've got a lot of videos up on YouTube, and I'm on Facebook for a long, long time. So I've put up the pictures and the information about my father and my mother, and my father being King Edward VIII. He never married Wallis Simpson, had anything to do with it. It was a character assassination by the Illuminati, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Joe Kennedy, and JFK. Joe Kennedy was appointed ambassador to England in 1936, the same year my father became king, by Roosevelt, president, who is also Jewish. So the whole plan was to take out my father and my mother, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor. And someone corrected me the other day about the timeline of Archbishop Cosmos Lang and his part in the takedown of my father, and I was christened. So anyway, it's unbelievable. I mean, that someone, how on earth do they think I got any of this information? Anyway, but not. Let me go to this. It's unbelievable what's been done, and yet nothing in court. It has to go into court, and I can't get an attorney, and it's so atrocious, the atrocities done to me and my sons here in this country, being kidnapped. But then what's been done to my mom and dad? My God, they had their daughter, me, kidnapped, and if they knew about my being tortured and the children, I don't know how they could have handled it. My father never got to come to my wedding. He had to have known about what was happening, and my mom to my children, his grandchildren. Horrible. Nothing along the way, this journey to where has been prosecuted or stopped. It's ongoing, just like the FBI investigation. The letter I got back from them, it was ongoing. I wanted to put this down because I've put a lot about Martin Luther King was shot by a program shooter. You can pretty much know that. James Earl Ray was programmed. You get into JFK helped with my kidnapping, and God knows he was Mafia, Illuminati, Freemason, just like the rest of these people, global government. Without borders anymore, so you're all under the United Nations, which came to be after they took my father down and kidnapped me. In 1936, they took him down at the end of the year there. It was illegal, and he had a attachment that was very legal, that if you had a heir, the heir would inherit. The minute I was born, I'm Victoria II, Queen Victoria II, heir to the British Crown, the legal monarch. Elizabeth and her father are war criminals and should be locked up and throw away the key. Well, he's dead now. Unless there's God, I guess none of this is justice for me or the British. Well, the British did. The British were the ones that came over here and saved me through the years with what happened to me and some Americans. But anyway, I want to get to this part. Jimmy Carter, I lived in Atlanta for a long, long time. I did the book when I was living there. I worked. My children were born in Atlanta. I actually lived in Marietta. It's outside. It's a suburb. Might as well say it's Atlanta. Um, so I was doing the book on prior to finding out, and I could remember then about being kidnapped. And I was told that I always knew subconsciously. So when I was told, I could remember being brought over here and placed at the Dempseys. And one of the Dempseys is even, I have to depend on these people that, well, I'm not even going to get into it right now. I wanted to put this up. They gave me a twin's name. The twins were born out of wedlock. in probably 1938. Yeah, that had to have been. They were a year older than me, and the mother had killed them. She was unmarried, and that family was horrible, horrible. And they gave me the name of Peggy, the twin. They killed her too. They killed her about a week or 2 weeks before I was placed there. So this was planned. Oh, so I grew up having to use her name. I still have to use it. Okay. I wanted to get to Jimmy Carter specifically. And by the way, I want to throw in that George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, was shot by a program shooter up in Laurel, Maryland, when he ran for the presidency. I've always said that I like George Wallace. You couldn't buy his soul, it wasn't for sale. And that's one of the reasons he got shot. You'd had a good president had you got him. You can say what you want to. I was never prejudiced. But when I got out in the condition I was in, begging and pleading after April Fool Day of 80, I found out what it's like. Other people, let me put it this way, can be so prejudiced and mean to you. It's the circumstances that I've been in. And I didn't create them. Anyway, Martin Luther King, the center there for civil rights. Nobody's ever, civil rights, nothing's ever intervened here and did anything to help me and my children. And it's so horrific to put it up. And anyway, I keep saying that because I'm tired. I was forced to move again yesterday, and I'm almost 80 years old, and I can hardly pull my things down the hallway and try to put it up again. And well, anyway, let me get off that. And I was sick anyway from the fumes. Is the reason I had to move. Anyway, Martin Luther King partnered with JFK way back, and I put this up way back on the videos. He partnered because mind control is invisible. And I was writing about mind control murders when I lived in Marietta, 76 till April Fool Day of 80, when they almost killed me. And Larry Flint was shot. And later I'm flown out there in a campaign, and because one of the doctors I wrote about, Larry McDonald, U.S. Congressman from Piedmont Hospital there in Atlanta, he supposedly went down in the KAL April 31st of 80, and 280 or 90 plus died and drowned. So that threw me I got into the campaign and flown out to Mr. Flint's, and he did the endorsement I usually put up. My point in doing this is this video. I see that Oprah Winfrey is down there, and she's going door to door, and everybody can't wait to shake her hand. And quite a different reception that I've gotten from people. Totally different than I've gotten. Now then, if she wanted to interview someone, nobody's ever come to me. They've steered clear of me. Yet she can't wait to interview Meghan Markle and Harry. And I know I have to clarify this, or somebody's going to jump down my neck. Everybody has, or I wouldn't be sitting here. Somebody had said I had an odd accent. Well, this is a Bolton, Alabama accent. Remember, I told you I was stolen, kidnapped. Of course, my mom's was American, and that's another shame. Sick. Anyway, I keep saying that. I'm doing this myself, not reading. And this is going to go out again. What they've been doing is the programming of you can program like Virginia uh, University of, well, yeah, there's a lot of things happened up in Charlottesville that involve mind control, but Virginia Tech here next door in Blacksburg, that shooting there in April, I've forgotten, some years ago, 2015, I think. Anyway, that was a program shooter that, and I'm not going to go any further on that. James Holmes, Aurora, Colorado, where they treated the man for mental illness. He wasn't mentally ill, it was programming and mind control. And that is the worst thing, that to call it mental illness, they're just using it as a weapon, and the wrong person pays for the crime. The program person's civil rights are destroyed and taken away from the person, and they're programmed to shoot themselves. Some of them are, like the Virginia Tech, and there's quite a few others like that. Sandy Hook, I think, did he kill himself? He killed his mom. Can you imagine that? And those children, and he's blamed for it. I don't know how that turned out. Anyway, I want to get back to this in Atlanta and the reception that Oprah, and she's had this talk show, she can walk in and all the media picks up on her. So anybody could have come up to me, or these videos I've put out, or Facebook, or I've gone directly to the media for years and years and years. Now, and I even worked for Ron Ziegler. I mean, that connects to the Watergate, like I've been telling about the Watergate tapes and what was done to me, the 18.5-minute gap. I'm sure there's records that were filed concerning me working through a temp agency up there in '84 when Larry Flint did that endorsement, and it was mailed to me in Hustler magazine. So you can, any of this, how come out of all this, I'm working for Ron Ziegler? Ron Ziegler was a good guy. He was probably deep throat. He was probably the only friend I had there, I can tell you that, during the Watergate and all that, in the 18-minute gap. Now I want to get this up before my tape goes off. Oprah, nobody's come near me to tape or interview or anything in all this. With all the civil rights that she and everybody else talks about, mine have totally been destroyed. I thought Jimmy Carter, well, let me go back to Martin Luther King partnering. He partnered with JFK. And I had, well, I'm not going to say that. I better just get this up. Mental health is being blamed for people who have been programmed. And these people they're acting under the orders that they don't even know they're doing from whoever did the programming, the person or the group or the government. So you understand that. So they're innocent themselves. So I ran for U.S. Congress to replace Larry McDonald in Atlanta back in September, October of 1983 when I was flown out to Mr. Flint's. Now I want to say this. I was almost killed April Fool Day of '80 after I did the book and had a letter from the FBI, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And it's what they did. I shouldn't have even lived as I walked away from it or anything. But I did. Now, I tell you whose office I went to, because by this time I'd found out a lot. I'd worked for the district attorney 1980, Fred Simpson in Huntsville, after that had been done to me, attempt to kill me. And I was illegally taken across the state line back to Huntsville by Lionel Dempsey. I was shoved into her car, the mother of the twins. So I was back in Atlanta. I'm not going to say I was on the street then again. And I went to Mrs. Martin Luther King, the headquarters downtown, all the civil rights and everything. Well, she wouldn't see me. But it was cold. I had flip-flops on where I'd had a home there and everything, and all this was done to me, and nobody brought it to court, nothing. So her guy came out, she sent out, and he even asked me to step outside with the flip-flops, and I'm freezing. He said, we know about mind control, and he mentioned a dentist. No. The man was, I think, I've forgotten his position now, but he's was the part of the king entre. Well, I don't know. Anyway, this man told me they knew about it, and he was their friend, whatever his title was, and he'd gone to the dentist, and he'd come back, and he'd taken a flying leap and run into the wall and busted his jaw and everything. That's how powerful it can be. And I'm sure that man wouldn't have busted his jaw, just for the hell of it. So anyway, I'm tired and I wanted to get this in. It's going to be gone. Reverend Andrew Young was with Martin Luther King when he was shot in Memphis. Okay, Andrew Young was the mayor. I went in there in 2000. Okay, no, it wasn't. 19. Oh, well, I'm getting confused on the date. 1982, about November. In his office, he wouldn't see me. He had been appointed by Jimmy Carter when he was governor. No, when he was president, to the United Nations, ambassador to the United Nations, which his whole thing was trying to take down the British Empire and make us fight against ourselves. And the illegal treaties my father wouldn't allow to be signed were signed by Elizabeth's father, and they worked for the global government, the Illuminati. And there's been records of that just published, which I've been telling it, and everybody knows that she works for them. She doesn't work. It's not her job anyway to work for the British. She is a war criminal, but she actually works for the Freemasons, the Illuminati. So back to Jimmy Carter, when he was president, made Reverend Young, Andrew Young, who's, should I say African American, or somehow, nobody titles me. My God, they've called me everything in the book and done everything in the book to me, and he was a part of it. He knew of it and everything, and Martin Luther King did. I don't know how many down there in Atlanta thought it was a joke to have done all this to me and mine. So anyway, it's going to go out. Andrew Young was mayor. Then he was, prior to that, he was appointed UN ambassador to the United Nations, which is the Illuminati that I'm talking about, that I wrote about. Now then, he was also member of Congress. He was elected House of Representatives, I believe. So I don't know all of his titles and all this. Now then, my question is, so many people, the media is controlled by the Illuminati. They will not tell anything, never mentioned anything about this or corrected the crimes against my father and mother. But Oprah can run out and can't wait to interview Meghan and Harry, and they're illegal. Her best friend works for CBS in the morning as a reporter or a hostess. Why doesn't she tell something about it? So now then, you got my drift. Oprah's never said anything. She's for civil rights. All these others are for civil rights. I haven't seen any. I haven't had a civil right, and neither did my children. And I'm sure there was something else I wanted to say, but with Oprah and all her glory, what's any of these people, if they're forced to see any photos and face up to what they've done to me, how are they going to